another great adventure. Today we are traveling to La Bohème in Marrakech in the Agafay desert. Take a look around. This is the room that we had for $395 USD for a 2-night stay.
So, thanks so much for joining me. And today we're going to give you a review about the La Bohème Agafay Desert Luxury Camp Hotel. So this hotel is in the desert of Morocco. In Morocco, you all have the mountains, the deserts, you have the beaches. It's a very beautiful place. Now, in Morocco, this was actually in Marrakech, about, I want to say, 2 hours from inner city. You have the Agafay Desert. The Agafay Desert is about halfway to the Sahara Desert, which is the well-known famous desert that everyone goes and stays in to get the real true desert experience. However, if you're like me, I just wanted a little sample of the desert. I wasn't really sure, like, if I can survive in the desert. So I needed to do a little something before I actually hop in. So I decided to book a 2-night stay in the La Bohème Luxury Camp Desert. So this was a 183 183 USD for this luxury stay. Is it worth it? So let's take a look at the room. So now that you guys have checked out the room, you have an idea of what's a luxury camp. Because when you're in the desert, you think that you're just going to stay in like a glamping type of tent that's on the floor. This actual desert had Wi-Fi, it had running water, it had showers, actual indoor place with AC. It had different restaurants, but it had a sitting area for you to eat. It had a pool. It had, these are some of the amenities. Now, they did also have tents. So if you do want the actual get on the ground tent experience, you have that. However, if you were like me, you still want a bed to sleep at night at, this is an alternative. They do have, I think, maybe 1 or 2 other options as far as hotels or stays that you can stay in at this desert. However, this luxury camp was completely by itself. It was near a road, but it was not near a street. So this is not a real city. This is really Agafay Desert is a true desert on the far end. However, the landscape of this desert, it does not have deep sand. So that is a shocker when you first pull up. You're thinking you're going to have sand. This was what I saw when I first pulled up. Like, I saw a camel laying on its side. I thought he was dead. I realized he was just sleeping. But also, this is the view that you get. However, there is some sandy parts. So from far away, it looks like sand and a dirt and a rock mixture of sort. But you still get the vibe of a desert, which I like. One fun fact about this desert, it was not super hot all day. In the morning was like the peak time for it to be hot. And at night, it really cooled down. It got so cold, I actually wanted to go back into my actual stay, my cabin, whatever you want to call it, tent. I actually wanted to stay there because it got so cold at night. So this particular hotel, some of the good things. So the fact that it had all these amenities was great. The fact that it had the option for Wi-Fi, it had the option for actual bed, and it had an option for, pool, a nice seating area, had a bar, it had not a restaurant, but it had like a dining area, and they actually served food. That was great. I love that part. Also the part of it, since they are creating themselves like a hotel, kind of a luxury stay, you did not have to outsource for the excursions. If you wanted to do the horseback riding, they had it. If you wanted to do off-road dirt bikes, they had it. Like all the fun, like desert things that you would experience, they had them right there and available where they would go, outsource them for you, bring them back to the camp, and from the camp you would go on your excursion. The excursion that I got to try, I was super excited. I actually went on a camel ride. So right now we are riding camels. Check it out.
in the Agafay desert. I got my friend with me and we are riding a sunset tour. Very beautiful. Very easy to ride a camel.
Super fun. I actually prefer riding a camel than a horse now. I don't know where I'm going to find one here in the United States, but in North Carolina to be exact, but I might try. Definitely it was a very easy ride. It wasn't like it was lumpy bumpy. The actual tour guide kind of stayed nearby to help guide the camel along the way. As you guys can see up here, this is kind of like what the camel ride was like. There were parts where we kind of scooped down onto like a road like path. Then we went back up into like that rock into the sunset. It was a sunset tour. It lasted about 45 minutes. And I think that was a really good time. You can extend it and go further out. But because I did not know the landscape and I do know this part of Marrakech in Morocco, snakes are a thing. I did not want to run too close to nature. So I wanted to stay within the premises of the area. So we didn't get lost or there weren't any crazy mishaps. Safety first. So just thinking about it, it was a really great thing. I really got to get really up and close with the camels. They brought them right into the camp. We took it for 200 dirham. Dirham is the local money that they use in Morocco. So 200 dirham was equal to about 20 USD. So for 20 USD, 45 minutes on a camel, I think that was great. Now this price, the 183 per night, I stayed for 2 nights. So my grand total was 366 and that is USD. So definitely, it was a pricier place to stay, even for Morocco, if you look at the excursion rate, or excuse me, the conversion rate. So definitely that's something to consider. Now, getting into, those were some of the great things that I liked. The fact that they had the amenities, they had the excursions, they had things at hand and readily available, according to the brochure. However, some of the cons. So how do you get water in the desert? It really is the desert. How do you get electricity in the desert? They use generators. So with generators, if you're not familiar with the generator, it's kind of like this little box that produces electricity. However, in order for it to produce electricity, you have to fuel it with gas. So one of the things that continue to happen throughout our stay, and again, we stayed for 2 nights, it was the lights kept going off or the air kept going off, and it was very random, and the randomness and the water stopped. And why did our utilities stop? Because the generator ran out of water. Ran out of gas. So that was pretty awkward because they didn't have like phones to just like call somebody to help you. You actually had to leave out of your container. I'm going to call it a container because it looked like a container home, if you're familiar with those. But I had to actually leave out of the container, find someone who was a part of the property management, and then they actually had to fill up our generator. Then you have to wait a minute for the generator to start. So all of that, it's just like, it was not as convenient as you would think. And then also too, once we recognized that there was generators, one thing you have to consider, if that's fueling our water, what is fueling the pool? So the pool is not necessarily, it looked clean from the outside, but it did have a little bit of a smell. So I did not get in that water. I don't believe my friend got in that water. We kind of stayed away from it just because we weren't sure exactly how it was being cleaned or how the water was being refreshed. So that's something that was kind of like a downside, as we were excited to kind of have like a pool day, because that was one of the amenities that were on the camp. And remember, because we're not near the street, we're not near anywhere. Like I said, we're two hours out from inner city. It is definitely not like a convenience where we can say, oh yeah, let's go to the city for a pool day instead. So we were kind of lounging around the pool for a day, not actually in the pool. And then also, the dining experience wasn't the best. One night they ran out of, it reminded me of Fire Festival, the lights, the water, everything went off. And it went off for about 20-30 minutes. They had to get the fuel, they had to do all that, they had to figure out which generator was low. It was a lot, and it was during dinner time. So that was definitely an interruption for dinner. And it just wasn't a seamless process there. Also, when it comes to electricity, these are things that we don't really think about that we need to be running smoothly, but it made an impact when we did not have it available. Also, thinking about the electricity, it was kind of inconvenient because we couldn't call for service, but they couldn't really communicate with each other either. The Wi-Fi was not strong. Even if you have a SIM card, I had a SIM card for the local network. The local network was not working as I guess fluidly as you would expect, just because of the service area that we were in. So it put a lot of damper on the way that we can communicate and the way that the actual company could communicate with each other. So trying to get that power outage back up, it took definitely a long time. Also communicating with them, like sometimes not everyone spoke English, and then our Spanish and Arabic was broken language, and there was kind of a miscommunication with a lot of different things. So making sure that they have staff available that speaks multiple languages, that was kind of a con to me, because if it's supposed to be a more established location, you would typically have some way to make sure that everyone is able to communicate, or a point of contact that you can actually reference. So those are some things that I thought were like pros and cons for this particular stay. So $183 to stay at the Agafay. It was they had a very beautiful setup, if you can see here. The setup was amazing, but ultimately I would not recommend. Watch my videos for Is It Worth It down below, and like and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye.